Like I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, well, I can't make the numbers work in my area. You ever hear that one?
Every day and twice on Sundays, they say, man.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, father, six, and best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbo. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I'm doing great. We had a great weekend, didn't we, huh? Boot camp, 70 people. I retired. I wasn't supposed to work on the weekends, but it looks like I'm working every weekend now. It's the funny thing. My wife is like, you know what? I got smart. I brought my wife this weekend. I showed her that we're changing people's lives. And that's what it's all about. Once you become financially free, you can start thinking about others and how you can impact others' lives. So for me, it was, I would say, almost a transformational weekend. I spoke on stage with my wife for the first time, and she kicked ass. I got to say, the first time she spoke in front of people, I was really moved. She did an amazing job. And 5 years ago, wouldn't even thought, it was like in another world, right, Jake? And that's what can happen in 5 years. Start grinding. That's all I got to say, bro.
So does this qualify for lifestyle by design?
Yes, your lifestyle can dictate your business. I was doing my business that was dictating my lifestyle, right? 6-day grind in the restaurant, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. You can get out of that grind. You're looking at a guy who did. And if I can do it, anybody can do it out there, Jake.
Very good. Very good. So we have a great guest today. Today's guest is the host of Real Estate Rockstars and the author of Tribe of Millionaires, Pat Hiban. Pat, welcome to the show.
What's up, boys? Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Hey, you know, you've had a successful real estate firm. You got a great podcast, an awesome book. What are you currently focusing on right now?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, my life is just, I'm essentially an asset manager for myself. And so what I do is I move around assets all the time, right? I'll sell this, buy this. So I just sold 2 single family homes that I had in Maryland. I bought well, I'll give you some real life examples. So I just sold one for $150,000. I took that $150,000, I put it into a software startup called Zippy, which is property tech for real estate agents. I got another one I'm listing today. It's going to be $400,000. It's paid off. I've already committed to a $200,000 293 unit luxury apartment building in Philadelphia. I got another deal in San Antonio, Texas. That's a parking garage that I'll probably put a hundo in. Let's see, what's the other one? Oh, and I just took $350 from another sale of another company that I luckily had last year, and I put it into a office building / multifamily / retail strip center in Austin, Texas. So, you know, that's just what I do, man. I just like move money around and shit. And so, you know, what else am I focusing in on? I sold my podcast, Real Estate Rockstars. I did it for 5 years. I did 850 episodes. I just didn't like it anymore. And it kind of goes back to what Gino was saying about, you know, doing stuff that makes you happy and doing stuff that simply because you can, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, to have enough money and to have passive income coming in to just do whatever the hell you want. I just felt like, you know what, I'm tired. I did 850 episodes. I don't want to do this anymore. So I put it out there, auctioned it off. I had 3 bids on it, and I'm out, you know? And so now 2020 is going to be a great year for me, I think. I'm going to really be free. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you know what I'm really can I throw something bizarre out there that I'm going to do that is very, let's just say is, goes against the grain, right, of what you would think I would do?
Pat,
as long as it's not like really like weird XXX
porn
stuff, we're fine.
porn,
Yeah.
Starring in senior porn, right?
Yeah, we don't really want to get into that, but if it's kind of just yeah.
DILF porn.
The last podcast had strippers. We're talking about strippers on the last podcast. So this one, I mean, how much farther?
No, dude. Like, so I'm in Charleston. I have a house in Maryland and I have a house in Charleston, and I most of the time I'm in Charleston because it's warmer. And so the other day I went down to City Hall and I got a pedicab license, a rickshaw license. And so I'm going to drive a rickshaw around and give random people rides downtown Charleston and, tour them around and shit and work for tips. And just because it's going to get me out of the house and I'm going to be out in the sunshine. I'm going to be meeting random people that I don't know, which is like one of my favorite things in the world to do, is just talk to strangers. And
are you going to be recording this and turning it into a show as well?
There's like 7 people have said that.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. That's where it's going, no? Or?
Here's what people are saying I should do. I should put a GoPro on and just make up fake facts.
Wouldn't be much different than what's going on every day in like the media, right? So,
Mr. Pat, I got to ask a serious question. Really, the listeners are out there. They see how freaking successful you are. What's the best way to get into real estate? Because you're moving money right now, but you had to make that money. So I'm a young entrepreneur. I want to get into the real estate space. How do I get into it? I mean, because I know you've sold millions and millions of dollars of real estate. You built a business in real estate. What's the best way for me to get into real estate? Yeah.
Okay. Great question. So slowly but fast. I mean, fast in that, just do it. Right. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Like I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh, well, I can't make the numbers work in my area. You ever hear that one?
Every day, twice on Sundays, they say, man.
Like, okay, we'll go somewhere else, right? Drive 2 hours. Come on. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's instead of think and grow rich, it's don't think and grow rich. Just do. First of all, do it fast. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Get your head kicked in a little bit. Keep doing it. But also realize that it is a slow process, man. It's one house at a time. It's one investment at a time. It's, for me, it's been, I graduated college in 1987. I started selling real estate right out of college. Mm-hmm. And then I bought my first property in 1990. So, and then eventually I just bought the next one and the next one and the next one. It wasn't a fast process at all. I think the problem nowadays, everyone wants to get rich fast. Mm-hmm. It's a slow ass process, but in order for it to be a slow ass process, you have to do it. On some level, you have to take action.
Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at these deals now, how do you analyze the deal? You're moving money into single families, parking garages. What are your metrics? What are you looking for in a deal?
Okay, well, it depends if it's an opportunity zone or not. So right now, so I was lucky. So one of the the reason I say this is luck because I'm not like I got a 2.3 GPA in college and my degree was in sociology, right? I'm not a scientific like genius or anything, right? So one of the things that investing was fun for me, and by the way, I never went in the stock market much at all. I did, but I lost a lot of money, so I got out. Was I started getting into private investing, where it's just, somebody's raising money for some software or a company or whatever, and I go out to lunch with them and we talk and I give them a little bit of money and then that's that. And I've had in the last, just the way life is in the last 3 years, let's say I've had 3 of those sell that did well, right? 7 figures on 2 of them. And of the 3. And that's pure luck, right? This is nothing but a gift from God. Because I couldn't tell you the first thing about, other than I like people and I liked them and I believed in them and I believed in the product. I mean, there was not much analysis in it, let's just say. So because of that, I'm doing opportunity zones. Right?
And what do you like about opportunity zones?
Just I don't pay taxes today,
And how do you find the opportunity zone? Because I find them to be a little challenging as far as having to go in there, having to put in double the money of, let's say the building's $1 million. You got to put in another $1 million. You're going into a blighted area. The target is long term. So a lot of investors, you tell them 10 years, they're like, 10 years, I want to be out in 10 months. So
yeah,
how do you convince people? I mean, yourself, you're a long-term investor, it seems like, but how do you convince others to do that?
I don't, because I'm just doing it for myself. So I'm not the general partner. So, I'm the limited partner on these deals. So, I'm not putting all the money in them. I'm probably 40%. I'm paying taxes on 60 or what have you. So, I'm not going all in. I know it's a long time, and I think that does scare a lot of people off, but it's a great deal for that time. And if the property, the best part about it is the property goes up in value, and you do sell it in 10 years, which is the goal of pretty much every opportunity zone is in, 2030 or so to dump it. All that gain is tax free.
That's awesome. So when you're doing all these deals, give me an idea of what you're looking for in a partner. How do you vet out a partner? I mean, because you have I'm sure you're partnering with different types of people, and like you said, the deal makes a lot of sense, but the sponsor is number one. I'd rather have a great sponsor and a marginal deal than a great deal and a marginal sponsor. So what are you looking for in a partner?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? First of all, you got to trust them, right? A couple of things. Okay, so I one of the other things I do is I run a company called GoBundance, or I don't run it. I help start it, and we have a CEO, and it kind of runs itself now. We have 225 members, but the members in GoBundance are vetted, right? That they're they got to be millionaires plus, let's just say. And there's a lot of real estate syndicators and general partners of real estate in the tribe, let's say. And I trust them. So, I just got back from Patagonia for 10 days, and there were a couple GPs with me in Patagonia for 2 weeks, right? So so I got to know them I got to know about their families and how many deals they've done and their track record, and I trust them. So number one is trust. You got to trust the person. Number two, I think, is a proven track record. I think like 20 years ago when I was looking at investments, I would just be, oh yeah, me and you are drinking buddies or whatever, and I got an extra 25 grand here, take it and run with it, right? So now it's a lot different. Now it's like I'm in a stage in my life where I'm actually meeting people through various sources, through introductions and things, or through GoBundance or whatever, masterminds, where, so I started this company, but it's my fifth one that I've started, and I'm only 48 years old. And the first four that I started, I sold, to public companies or whatever. So I have this tracker. I'm exaggerating, right? Because generally you have like one or two in there that failed. But, if you could see their track record is one of such that they understand the dynamics of I'm building this company to sell it, that's a much better investment in a small private company than just some random that needs 25 grand to start his auto care business. Am I making sense?
Was that unintentional, or was that a thought process when setting up the mastermind?
Yeah, no, totally unintentional.
So what was it? What was the intention?
The intention of the mastermind. The intention of the mastermind was to have people that you could talk about shit on a high level and not feel awkward, right? It's like I would go to a party,
Exactly.
Welcome to our world, right, Jake? It's
the
same thing. Yes, I love that. I'm sorry, finish that thought because it's really important.
I go to a party or a wedding, and my main goal at that wedding would be to find the richest person in the room so I could bullshit with them.
We need to create elevator pitches for our wives is what it comes down to, because people ask our wives all the time, so what does your husband do? And it's like,
I have that too. I'll tell you a hilarious story. So that just happened like 3 nights ago. I went to a party and this lady was all obnoxious and she was all loud and she obviously, whatever. She owned this company, and she's talking to everybody. She stole the energy out of the room, which was okay, and then she turns to me and she goes, "What do you do?" And I had a couple drinks and I looked at my wife and I looked back at her. I said, I ride pedicabs in Charleston. Immediately turned over and started talking to the guy next to me and never said a word to me the rest of the night. So I'm like, okay, that on one hand was good, but anyway, it's a funny story. But yeah, so like I love talking to other guys about business, right? And I love talking to other people about business, and it's kind of like being on this show, right? Mm-hmm. Like us right now. It gives me a lot of energy, and so it was difficult to find that, and so by getting groups of people together where you could be like, oh, you buy houses in Knoxville, Tennessee, you buy apartment buildings or commercial buildings in Knoxville, Tennessee. What do you got? Oh, yeah, I got a shopping center. Oh, how's it doing? I got one too. Here's what it hit, man. I'm struggling. Have you, I got this offer from Code Ninjas and I'm looking at, and they want this and they want that. No shit, I dealt with them before. Yeah, they're tough or whatever. Just, just in general, mm-hmm. It's like David Osborne and I, who started GoBundance. It was funny. We would meet people together and we'd be like half of a coffee in and we'd be like, so what's your net worth? They'd be like, I'm uncomfortable telling you that. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
That's funny.
We were the new person.
So people starting up, you have a great model on how to actually meet these people. Can you give the listeners just some advice on how to actually maybe create a mastermind like that, create a meetup, and just try to surround yourself with like-minded people? Because for me, it's all about the environment. It's all about how you identify and who do you identify as, and then getting those people around you. Like I said, we had the boot camp with 70 people. They were all locked in. They're all typically, the persona is families, people married, or really young people who want to become financially free. So we've been able to create that. How have you been able to create that, or give the listeners some kind of tips or advice to create that kind of environment for themselves?
Well, I think the first thing you got to realize is there's a lot of wannabe investors out there right now, right? There's a lot of people that want it, and that's beautiful. But be careful not to surround yourself with 5 wannabe investors who have never pulled the trigger, mm-hmm. right? Who've never gotten their head kicked in, who have never, had to evict a tenant or deal with any of this stuff that mm-hmm. Is real life. And so find the ones that are actually doing it on a high level. And then, the greatest thing you could say, the greatest piece of advice that someone could write down and do is get the guts to call them, right? And mm-hmm. say, what can I do to earn the right to have a cup of coffee with you? And bite your lip, right? Don't say anything after that. And let them tell you. And if they say, hey, I, pay $500 to my charity, and pay $500 to their charity, or you have to think in that manner of mm-hmm. like, what can you do to earn the right to have a cup of coffee with them, and try to get into their realm. And then the most important thing after that is to actually do what they say. So many other mentees and mentors I see where the mentee will go to the mentor and the mentor say, okay, you need to read Richest Man in Babylon and Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki and As a Man Thinketh. And they're like, okay. And they write them all down. They scribble them down in their journal, and then they don't do anything. Mm-hmm. Right. And the mentor loves it if that mentee comes back to them in a week and said, I read all 3 of them. I've written the notes down. I'm forwarding them to you in an email. Thank you so much. They've changed my life. Any other advice you have for me? I'm all ears. You know what I mean? Then that mentor is like, this guy's no joke. Let me bring him into my world here a little bit, because who knows, there might be a future there. I want to, like, I think people doing well like to surround themselves also by people who want to do well, so long as that person is willing to pull the trigger. There's nothing worse than surrounding yourself with someone who wants to do well that never pulls a trigger on anything. Does that make sense?
Totally. My 17-year-old son last night came to me, and we have trainings and videos, and he's watching all my stuff, and he's like, Dad, I like that net worth is equal to your net work. I'm like, Mike, you know what that means? He's like, yeah, all the people that you know, whether it's Jake or your partner Mike or all these people you're partnering with. I said, yes, if a 17-year-old can figure that out, he's going to have a really good future, I think. So don't know if he's college material, Jake. I'm still figuring that one out.
I don't want him to go to college. I think it's low value.
I'm struggling with that too.
Dissipated there. But, a few things, I'm just sitting back listening to you, Pat, and it's one thing that I've noticed is that it can get very lonely sometimes being a leader of a company because you don't have a lot of people to relate to within the organization. So it's great. I have this relationship with Gino, and we have a partnership. So that's one thing that leaders can struggle with. But the people coming in looking for the mentorship, one of the interesting things that they go through is they may be going through, you just touched on evictions. They may be going through their first eviction of a tenant, and it feels like this big, scary thing. The great thing about the mentor relationship is that they've been through it a million times. It's, as Dalio says, another one of those. And I think that counseling there can be super helpful because if you put systems in place, you have great people around you, it just becomes another one of those, but you have to create the system after you go through the pain and correct it. So as it's just a system in the business. And I think that's one of the interesting things about those types of relationships. So just commenting on your knowledge there. But
yeah, 100%. I agree.
You've written a book, Tribe of Millionaires. Let's dive into that a little bit. First of all, why did you write it and who did you write it for?
Well, so we wanted to kind of get the message out that this natural phenomena exists, that it just exists. It's just so true. It's like your son is 17 years old. It's so true, but people don't understand it. People don't necessarily believe it. They say it, and there's cliches like you lay down with dogs, you get fleas. But it's so true. Mm-hmm. It's like you can't stop it, right? Like literally, like if you're broke and you start hanging around 5 really rich people, it's so long as you don't quit hanging around them, it's impossible for you not to get your stuff together and start being productive. You're either going to quit hanging around them or you're going to be productive, one of the two, right? It's just going to happen. So we wanted to get that message out. So, here's the thing, and you guys know this. I don't know about your book, but 90% of the books out there, the nonfiction books at least, or this one's a fiction book based on nonfiction, but are written by a book writer, creative writer. So what we did at GoBundance is it's a men's business fraternity. We have 225 members. We had 27 members go to Japan. And so 27 guys going to Japan. And we did all kinds of crazy stuff. Like we rode Mario Karts around downtown Tokyo with Mario Kart costumes on. And
who's Mario?
He's is that real?
You talking Super Mario here?
Yeah, Super Mario.
There we go. All right, just making
Super
sure
Mario. Sorry, Super Mario. Luigi and Super Mario. You guys should know these guys,
Well, it'd be Jake and Gino.
Thought you were Italian. Anyways, that's, among other things. So we had this writer come with us, and basically he interviewed all 27, and he said, I'm going to create a book that speaks to these 27 people that I interviewed. And so what he did is created characters from them. And the book is about a guy who basically, his name is Ethan Martinez. He has a falling out with his father 20 years prior. His father dies 20 years later. He goes to the funeral because he wants the money from the estate, and he's an only child. And he notices that the pallbearers are all these billionaires and multimillionaires and have successful marriages and are very healthy and, really got it together. And he's like, I thought my dad was a deadbeat. I hated my dad. I thought he was a loser. What happened? And then one of the pallbearers comes to him and says, son, here's the deal. Your father said I get to go over this estate with you, but a prerequisite is that you fly with us, with the other pallbearers, to a private island on a private jet, and you spend a week with us on this island, and we teach you the 6 keys of success. And the story ensues where he says, okay, well, I'm going to go, right? Because I want the money, even though I don't want to go. And he hangs out with these guys, right? So he hangs out with all these rich guys who teach him all these lessons, and that's kind of what the story's about.
How does it end? Give us a little taste. Give us a little taste. I mean, so it's almost seemed parallels to what you guys are all about: getting together, networking, building your relationships. I guess just trying to feed off other people's energy. Like I love that story with the woman. Just get rid of him. Get him out of your life. That's probably the best thing you could have done. Is just get rid of her. So, I mean, does Ethan have a chance? I mean, does he go there willingly, unwillingly? Does he learn his lessons?
Yeah, that's great. He is unwilling, and as he goes along, at first he's pissed. He's like, "This guy's a clown," and how's he telling me? They're giving him homework and stuff, and he's like, "This homework is BS." And then as it goes on, he's like, "Oh, this makes a lot of sense." Like, you know what I mean? Like one of the things they do is on the plane over, they say, and a lot of people have actually written us since the book came out and told us that they did this too. They write they say, write down the 5 people you talk to the most, and then next to them say, how much they have in the bank, how rich are they, or how well off are they, or how would you rate them? And he gives them exercises like that throughout the journey. So anyway, he comes home, his business was failing. He comes home, he re-energizes his business, he recommits to his wife that he's going to, start having date nights and start focusing on her. He starts exercising every day. Of course, everything, he changes everything, right? He becomes like a massively better person because of surrounding himself with these other people that have massively better circumstances than he currently does.
Before we get to the short answer questions, I want to ask you a question about what does a successful life look like to you? Because for me, Ethan's father had a successful life, but he didn't have a relationship with his son. To me, so for all the money and all the connections and all, if I can't have a relationship with my 6 children, my wife, I don't care what I'm doing professionally.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've had some feedback there too. You know what I mean about?
Yes.
Oh, he's a false prophet. You know what I mean? Like he can't even get it together with his son. Love
you got to find a way to get to the message, though, folks.
I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying from my
no, I'm just absolutely no. It's a good thing. And when we were writing the book, because I was in charge of I wrote it with our creative writer, and I said that to him in the beginning. I was like, wait a minute, but it doesn't really get into that. And his point, Dan's point, who helped us write the book, was like, we don't know what happened. It could have been, Ethan refused his father's advances. Like his dad was like, hey, I want to make it up. And we're sending him letters. And I think towards the end, we did say something about there's a bunch of unopened letters and unopened emails that his dad had been trying to send him that Ethan rebutted because, he was a mad kid at the time and he never mended it. But yeah. I mean, family's first. Everybody knows that's a given. Like you can't, I have a tattoo here that says love is spelled Time. It's a cartoon. I mean, it's a crayon. It basically goes to that, and that, we all know that children and our wives and whatever don't want any of this money. They don't really care necessarily. If I went to my wife and said, hey, I made half as much as I did last year, she wouldn't care. If I said,
deadbeat, I'm sending you to the island. Come on, Pat.
If she did, then you'd have to question, right? I mean,
well, dude, you're driving around in Mario Karts. You should be working, right? I agree. And that's one of the things, Jake, before we get to the short answers is convey to your spouse, your significant other. You know, I always told my wife I want to become financially free. I want to become financially free. She didn't understand because I always paid the bills. So paint a picture to her what financial freedom is. And to me, it is, okay, let me fly your mom down here and I'll pay her for 3 months. Let me have a family come up from north and pay for their vacation. Let's do all these really cool things. Let's go back to New York 3 times a year. Let's not worry about it. And she's like, oh, okay, I like this financial freedom thing now. I mean, I know you took care of the bills. Now the bills are taken care of. Now we can help others. So for anybody out there struggling to convey because your significant other doesn't really care about money or what money can do for you, paint the picture to say, this is why I'm working. So
Gino, last night I was, we were having dinner and this is funny because, you know, he's talking about like, well, my wife would be okay with it. You know, so my wife and son would be okay with it. But my daughter last night, I sit at the head of the table. She takes my seat and says, no, Dad, this is my house. Get over. And so we had this whole back and forth and she's like, no, it's mine. And she's just like, she's going to be a shark, man. It's crazy. So we'll see about her. She seems to be a little intense there. But all right, gang, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. Hey, Gino, the 2 most common questions I've been asked have been, how do I get into real estate and do my first deal? The other question has been, how do I scale my real estate portfolio? Get those all the time. We have great news for you. Gino, tell them about it.
We can help you answer both of those questions. We have a 2-day investor training coming up in Pittsburgh on March 28th and the 29th, where attendees can learn our 3-step proprietary framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Our 3-step framework has helped hundreds of real estate entrepreneurs successfully get started in real estate with no experience, and it has also helped experienced real estate entrepreneurs take it to the next level.
If you want more information on this event or to sign up, visit www.jakeandgino.com/WBPL. All right, we are back. So we're going to get some quick hitters, Pat. Want to know your best habit for success?
My best habit for financial success is be obsessed with numbers, like be obsessed with your net worth, with your bank accounts. Someone asked me that the other day, like what's the one thing you could attribute the last like 40 years or 35 years that was similar that helped go to your success? And I've always been obsessed with, like, I look at my bank account all the damn time. I look at my, savings and my numbers and my investments, and I'm just constantly looking at them, right? And I think that's the one thing. I got that advice from a mentor a long time ago. He said, I want you to recalculate your net worth every month. And I said, well, at the time, my net worth was like $52,000. And I was like, well, I only got $52,000. He goes, doesn't matter. I want it to be 52.1, in February, and then 52.4 in March. I just want you to pay attention to it. And really ever since then, I've kind of done that, and I always do that. So that would be the answer.
Whatever you focus on grows. I mean, you're focusing on your net worth, you're focusing on your bank accounts. And it's not to say that you're obsessed with money. You're obsessed with what money can do for you. And it's not a dirty thing. We're taught that, wow, you make a lot of money, it's something bad.
It's a tool.
I think it's great advice. I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years. And coincidentally, I've like quadrupled my net worth in the last 4 years. I think there's a correlation there.
I think most people focus on work. They don't necessarily focus on wealth.
Mm-hmm. Big difference.
Best tip for growing your network?
Best tip for growing your network is probably the 3-foot rule, right? If anybody comes within 3 foot, talk to them. Especially if you're in a situation where it's a good network, like a convention, right? Like your guys' convention or whatever. If you talk to everybody there at your convention, right? I've met some of my best friends and business partners. I met Tim Rode, who is my partner in a shopping center, and several notes and in GoBundance and many things. Lacing up my tennis shoes at a hotel in Chicago, getting ready to go for a run. And he came out getting ready to go for a run. And I started talking to him and we ran together. And then he was financially free at 40 years old because he had a couple of AutoZone stores and he rented out the stores to AutoZone. And I told my other friend, David Osborne, who I was there with, I was like, dude, you need to come running with me tomorrow because I met this guy lacing up my shoes. And the next morning, the three of us went running and just started talking business and stuff. So my point is that you never know who's going to be added to your network. And in a simple conversation while lacing up your shoes could change your life.
Lace them up. Book recommendation.
My favorite book, my favorite historical book or book that I read over and over is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I keep it in my backpack, which I carry around with me all the time, and I flip to it. I just finished The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the audio, and I ordered the print just so I can start underlining stuff in it. So
who wrote that
Tell
book?
me about that one again. I read that like a year ago and it escapes me. What was like the take home on that one?
It's counterintuitive about, it's kind of a counterintuitive approach about our society today and how everybody cares about everything. And in actuality, you succeed a lot more if you stop caring. Right? Like everyone has these rules. It's very counterintuitive to what you and I have talked about our whole lives. And I'm not saying I agree with it 100%, but I do agree with it partially in that, we set goals and we say we got to meet these goals and these goals are so important. And he's like, well, why are all these goals important? What do they really mean? And what if you just liberated yourself from having to look as good as these 2,700 other people on social media and having to have as much money as, Grant Cardone and what if you liberated yourself? What would happen? And
people are like freaking themselves out with undue stress, basically. Yeah.
It's like he says, like depression, anxiety is at the highest level it's ever been in American history. And, it's because everyone, gives a fuck. Right. And if they stopped, right. And back 100 years ago, nobody really cared. Right. They're like, oh, I went and did my job. But, my back hurts, whatever. I got a wart on my forehead. They just didn't care, and they just, and they lived longer and there wasn't all this mental illness. So
I think the problem with goals though, Pat, and I've been looking at this for years, is everyone falls in love with their goals. They don't fall in love with the actions. Don't fall in love with the results. If you can fall in love with your actions and you can fall in love with why you're doing the goals and you can fall in love with the system and the process, like we love to hunt. Jake and I love my multifamily. We love to, increase those streams of revenue. But if that's my goal to keep adding streams of revenue, ultimately I'm going to get burned out. I'm going to hate it. But the fact that Jake and I are closing on a 52 unit in 3 weeks, we're on the due diligence calls. We actually network with the people we found it. We're actually raising money, or all those steps is what we really like. It really empowers us and we enjoy it. We're going to hit that goal. That's the problem. We're taught that, hey, we need to become financially free, but let's enjoy what we're doing to become financially free. So I think that's the problem with goal setting and looking into the future. Follow what you're doing to get there.
An interesting topic, and I can talk to you guys about this. Not many people you could talk about this, but there's a dopamine hit that we get from investing.
Yes.
Whether we want to admit it or not. And on some level, when you get high by doing something, you're going to make a mistake because of that dopamine hit, right? Like you're going to, and I've done it. I'm guilty of it, right? You're going to, fit a square peg in a round hole. And it's very hard to say, okay, well, I don't want to look at deals. I struggle with it. I've said like 5 times in the last 2 years, I'm not investing in real estate. And then all I can do is invest in real estate. It's interesting, and it's not right or wrong, and I don't know where the answer is, but it's something we need to be aware of.
I think this just became a counseling session.
Well, Jake, I'm going to tell you my dopamine hit every time I get something from a student, whether they quit their job, whether they closed a deal, whether I helped them with a problem. Every email, and I get a lot of emails daily, weekly. That makes me feel good. It just makes me want to work even harder. It's a weird thing. And that, I don't know if I'm addicted to it. I just like it a lot. I'm able to do it now, and I'm able to grow that. And it's easy because it's, the better you get at something, the more people you help, the more money you make, which is really weird. Never thought of that years ago. But that dopamine hit is real. And if you can understand it and you can do things that are empowering, you can get dopamine hits by drinking alcohol, by doing drugs, whatever. I get it by helping students and by closing deals. So I think my actions are more empowering than someone else's who's doing negative. So figure out what you're doing. And if you're doing something that's empowering, continue to do it.
Yeah, the best is where you could get, a kid or anybody, a mentee who actually becomes a millionaire, who does not just one deal, but does 10, and then becomes financially free, and then says, Jake and Gino, look at me. I did exactly what you said. And here I am,
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Besides taxi cab confessions, what are you excited about right now?
What am I excited about right now? 2020. Well, I'm excited. At GoBundance, we have a big event in Aspen. And then we have another event in Cuba. I'm going to Cuba. We have a couples trip just for the couples of GoBundance. We're going to Cuba for 5 days. So I'm really excited about Cuba because I've always wanted to go. It's always been on my bucket list. And I'm going to be able to check that off. So I'm excited about Cuba.
Cool. So let folks know where they can get the Tribe of Millionaires, where they can hook up with GoBundance and get inside the Pat Tribe.
Indeed. So the best way to get the book, you can go on Amazon and get the book for $20, but I recommend you go to tribeofmillionaires.com. That's tribeofmillionaires.com. You get it absolutely free. All you got to do is pay the shipping. That is it.
I thought we're making money on this show.
Yeah. We're giving it away free. You just pay the shipping, $7. And that's it. You get it for free. We're trying to get the word out. We're trying to push out about 1,000 copies free, so you can be one of those and just order it. That's tribeofmillionaires.com. Or you can check out GoBundance, just GoBundance, BUNDANCE.com. We also have a women's tribe that just started. We have 41 women who have signed up, and that's GoBundanceWomen.com.
You're going to have some in the cab too. So you can push a few out there when you got some people, just throw a couple in the back seat.
Someone else said that, and I was like, no, I think this is going to be my alternative ego. I might change my name.
You got to do the paper copies or you might hurt somebody. G-Dad, what else you got?
That's all. You can see the excitement. You can see that he loves investing. Yeah, he's created an amazing community. I would definitely go check out GoBundance. I would definitely pick out the book because Dan is a great writer. Jake, another real estate guy. We love real estate guys because they make it happen.
The Attic. We're going to switch it from to the Attic show. So anyways, Pat, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Pat.
It was a blast, man. It was really fun. Thanks. I can't believe it's finished already. Wow.
Thanks,
Take care, everybody.